The mask we wear.
Mirabel noticed the silence first, not the comfortable kind, the heavy kind that settles in a room when something's already been decided before you arrive. She'd come home to find them waiting, 5 of them, her supposed best friends, all standing in her living room like they'd been arranged there deliberately. Daniel, Chioma, Tunde, Zainab, and David. The crew she trusted with her rent struggles, her failed relationships, her mother's illness. The people she texted at 2 a.m. when the world felt like it was cracking open.
"What's going on?" Mirabel asked, still holding her work bag, still wearing her shoes. Something in their faces told her not to settle in. Nobody answered. They just looked at each other, the way people do when they've agreed to something painful. "Seriously, why are you all here? Did something happen to my mom?" Her voice pitched higher. "Your mom's fine," Chioma said quietly. "This is about you."
Daniel stepped forward, and that's when Mirabel knew this was rehearsed. "We need to talk about what you did to Tunde's sister," he said. Mirabel's stomach dropped. She'd spent 2 years trying to forget that situation. 2 years hoping it would stay buried under apologies she'd already made, under promises to do better. She thought it was behind her. "I apologized," she said, her voice smaller than she wanted it to be. "I told her I was sorry. I explained everything."
"You told her lies," Zainab said. There was no softness in her voice. "You told her Tunde was cheating when you didn't even know for certain. You told her you saw him with someone else. You ruined her engagement on gossip, Mirabel, on your gossip." Mirabel opened her mouth and closed it. Because the worst part was that Zainab was right. She'd been angry with Tunde that day. He'd forgotten her birthday. She'd wanted him to hurt the way she hurt, and his sister had been a weapon, and she'd used it without thinking of the person at the other end. "I know I made a mistake," Mirabel said. "But why are you all here together? Why now?"
"Because it's not just one mistake," David said. He was holding something in his hand. When he turned it toward her, she saw a message thread. Her own messages. To people she no longer spoke to. People she'd cut off after using them. The words on that screen made her throat close. She's such a try-hard, honestly. Like nobody really likes her at work. I swear she made up that promotion drama for attention. Don't trust her with anything important. She'll find a way to make it about herself. That was from 2 years ago. 2 years she'd spent convincing herself she wasn't that person anymore. 2 years of believing she'd grown.
"We've been talking," Chioma said. "Really talking. About all of it. The things you've said about each of us. The way you pull people close and then push them out. How you apologize only when you get caught. How I what?" Mirabel heard herself getting angry. Maybe because she was scared. Maybe because she knew they were right, and it hurt more than any lie they could have told her. "How you use us," Tunde said. His voice was the quietest, but somehow the loudest. "You use us, and then when we don't serve the purpose you needed, you find new people. You're still doing it." That's when she noticed it. The way they stood in a line, almost choreographed. The way they wouldn't quite meet her eyes, except when they were delivering each accusation. And then she understood. They'd come together like this because individually, each of them lacked the courage to face her. But together, they felt brave. She wanted to laugh at the cruelty of it. She wanted to cry at the accuracy of it. "Is this an intervention?" Mirabel asked. "Like a staged thing? Did you all plan this? What was the plan exactly? Get me here and make me feel small?" She looked at each of them and saw the same thing. relief. They were relieved. The weight they'd been carrying, the disappointment, the distrust, the resentment, they were finally putting it down. And she was the ground they were putting it on. "How long?" Mirabel asked. "How long have you been feeling this way?" Nobody wanted to answer, which meant the answer was always. They'd always felt this way. Their entire friendship had been a slow erosion of hope that she would change, built on a foundation of her never really changing at all.
There was nothing she could say that wouldn't sound like an excuse. There was nothing she could do that would convince them she was different, because she wasn't sure she was different. She'd apologized before, she'd meant it before, and then she'd done it again. "I never meant," Mirabel started. "See," Chioma interrupted. "Even now it's about your intentions. It's never about what you actually did. It's always about what you meant."
They left one by one. Daniel last. At the door, he turned back like he wanted to say something comforting, something that would make this less final. But there was nothing to say. They'd already said everything. When the door closed, Mirabel sat in the living room and felt the weight of 5 friendships dying all at once. She thought about the messages she'd sent, the lies she'd told, the moments when she'd known she was wrong and chosen to be wrong anyway because it felt easier than admitting it. She thought about Tunde's sister, a woman whose name she'd forgotten because it had been convenient to forget. She thought about all the people she'd dismissed, who deserved more than her careless words and careful justifications. The tears came again, but this time they were different. Not tears of self-pity, tears of recognition. The kind that come when you finally see yourself in a mirror, and the person looking back is someone you don't particularly like.
3 weeks later, Mirabel did something that terrified her. She reached out to Tunde's sister and asked if she could meet her. Not to apologize again, she'd already done that, but to listen, to hear about the damage she'd caused, to sit with it instead of trying to fix it or explain it away. She didn't do it to feel better. She did it because she finally understood that people weren't props in her story. They were people. Real people with real lives, and she treated them like they existed only in relation to her needs. It was the hardest conversation of her life, and none of it was about her at all.
Months later, Mirabel was still alone. There was no dramatic reconciliation. The 5 friends didn't come back. She didn't get to rebuild the friendship that made everything okay again. That's not how real life worked, and she was finally learning the difference between real life and the story she told herself about it. But something shifted in her, something that had nothing to do with being forgiven and everything to do with finally understanding that forgiveness wasn't the point. Understanding was. Accountability was. Actual change was.
When she looked in the mirror now, she didn't see the person her friends had described, but she could see her. And she could see how that person had become someone else through 1,000 small choices to prioritize her own feelings over other people's truth. It wasn't a redemption story yet. It was just the beginning of one. And the first step of any real change is standing in front of the mirror without a mask, without the careful justifications, without the reassuring narratives, without the intentions you hide behind like their armor. Just you, just the truth, just the work.